Hey, movie fans, and welcome to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. I'm your host, Nate, with my co-host, Josh. Josh, how are you doing this fine evening?
Uh, I couldn't be better, honestly. I got a good workout in earlier, so I'm just kind of rocking and rolling today, man.
Well, that's good. Some news kind of put a damper on my day, but let's get into that right now. Kicking us off bright and early, we like to just get right into the news. The big movie news topic, we're recording this on Wednesday night, all the movie universe has been talking about all day today of Wednesday, is Henry Cavill, Superman in the DC Cinematic Universe, is apparently now out of the picture as Superman in the DC Cinematic Universe. Oh boy, where do I even start with this one? This is really out of the blue, I think.
Yeah.
Really out of the blue. But before I go on a huge rant, Josh, what do you make of this news?
I mean, I'm shocked, obviously. I think all of us kind of are. But I think you and I were kind of, going back and forth earlier about it. As far as with this news, it came, that they're going to focus more on Supergirl as for the movies. And really, like, you sit here and you think about it, and what has Henry Cavill actually gotten to do? Outside of Man of Steel, we've now had 2 movies since Man of Steel. And, I mean, he did quite a bit in Batman v Superman, but, I mean, Justice League, he was in a box for almost all of it. So it's like, I feel it. I feel the dude. I haven't seen anything as to why he's leaving. I think maybe you might know more on that topic, but as far as I'm concerned, he's just kind of out.
Yeah, the impression that I got, and the thing is, and by the time this episode actually gets out, we're probably going to end up being outdated in our information anyway, but details are very scarce right now as to why. Like, there seems to be no definitive answer from any camp out there of, like, Henry Cavill's agent is just like, well, the cape is still in his closet, and we're hoping to get some more information out there from DC, hope to get some form of an agreement with them, and I'm just like, that's not a confirmation or denial. To me, It seems like he cares more about the Superman character and wanting to further the story of Superman more than DC. I think DC, for whatever idiotic reason, doesn't view Superman as a moneymaker. They see him as a brand that can sell some shirts and stuff, not a movie franchise.
I get that. I'm going to correct you real quick. I don't think it's DC that's thinking that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I think Warner Bros., and I don't think I'm going to stretch at all to say this, does not know what they have.
No.
In DC universe. They do not understand the content that they have. And with the Supergirl stuff attached to all of this, I would not be surprised that they are going with Supergirl in response to Captain Marvel.
But they already have Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Wonder Woman first.
I understand, but she's not, technically, if you want to sit here and talk about this, she's not like a young female hero. And Captain Marvel is a young, quote unquote, young female hero. I don't know. To me, it felt more like a reactionary decision rather than, hey, let's like explore Supergirl a little bit. Like, we have a show for her right now, man. Like, chill.
But Warner Brothers is never reactionary in regards to the DC universe. Come on now. It's just frustrating at times trying to be a DC fan because it just seems like the fans want things to succeed, but Warner Brothers has this golden goose just sitting in their lap that they don't know how to make it work. Superman, as I've done countless videos on, is not a complicated character to get right. You just have to do a little bit of homework. It's not that difficult, but I don't know what it is. I think, yeah, this will be our main point of discussion today, just the future of the DCEU and
Yeah.
or Worlds of DC or whatever it's getting called nowadays, and just the future of the Superman character. So before I go on a rant that I'll probably save for later in the episode, let's go into some other news that's not going to get my blood pressure up, but I don't know, maybe it will. Zombieland 2. It's a thing. It is coming. Finally, I'm excited for it. Not only is it coming, it is beginning filming in January, and it's targeting an October release, supposedly, with all 4 major characters from the original film coming back as their respective roles. Josh, what do you make of that?
I mean, I don't think anybody has to talk to me for very long for them to know that I'm a fan of the Zombieland. It's going to be interesting. I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit because once we heard about it, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with the storyline. Because when Zombieland first came out, it did not do well because nobody really knew what to make of it, and it's definitely become a cult classic in a sense. So I mean, I'm all for whatever they do. Really, it's kind of like when they did Kingsman 2. I was like, you know what? At this point, I'm a big enough fan. I really don't think they're going to be able to do anything wrong. They're going to give me something. I trust them enough with the content that they've given me before. I'm going to put my butt in the theater no matter what they put out.
Yeah, and we got Kingsman 2, which was fine. But yeah, this one, it's more just like the familiarity of the characters. Just seeing them again will be great to see the cast again. I'd love to see Woody Harrelson back. This is the only time you'll ever hear me say this sentence. Would love to see Jesse Eisenberg back. I just would like to see this cast come back. They had amazing chemistry. And like you said, there's a world of possibilities for this story to go, and just really interesting possibilities that I would like to see explored. Maybe they find another group of 4 people that are like the bizarro versions of them, and I think that could be really, really fun. Now, we've talked about this before. If you do Zombieland 2, you need a cameo that's just as good, if not better, than Bill Murray, like a David Hasselhoff or some other over-the-top, ridiculously cheesy cameo that could just make it work. Transitioning us away now from Zombieland 2, which will be next October, coming this October is David Gordon Green's Halloween, a really hotly anticipated horror film that I personally am super excited for. It actually debuted this past weekend at the Toronto Film Festival, and it got rave reviews. People were saying this is the best Halloween since the first one, and that gets me really excited. My hype level was already really high for this movie. The trailers have won me over. Not so much with that second one, but that's more of an editing issue. If you want more information on that, check out the first Uncharted Media podcast. But I'm still really excited for this. These reviews get me even more excited. Josh, hearing these reviews and reactions to this new Halloween movie, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, obviously, I'm excited. I think I've learned my lesson in letting myself get aboard the hype train.
As we just talked about DC earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So while I am happy to hear that it did well at a film festival, I'm wary still. I think for me right now, I think it's better to I'm going to expect an H2O, and if I get a Halloween one or better, I'll be super surprised and happy about that.
Dude, if we get an H2O, I'll be happy, honestly.
I mean, yeah, but H2O is a lot of fun for different reasons. So
yeah, give us H2O and age up the cast and give Michael Myers a completely different mask and forget H2O's mask ever happened. I'll be content.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm excited about the movie. The trailers that have come out for it are awesome. I'm down. whatever happens, happens, man.
So, transitioning from a horror movie that hopefully will be good to a movie that I thought was not very good, but however, the box office, it's very good for this movie, and that is The Nun, which made $53.5 million this opening weekend and $131 million worldwide.
Oof.
I
Oof.
didn't even think it was that good, but wow, it is the second biggest opening ever for a September release, only behind It, and is the biggest opening for any of the films in the Conjuring universe so far. Josh, what have you been hearing about The Nun? Have you seen it yet? And
I
what do you make of these
haven't.
numbers?
I have not seen it. I've been very busy with some other stuff. But I'm surprised that it's the biggest opening of a Conjuring movie. But also not surprised at the same time, just because the Conjuring movies have kind of snuck up on us over the years. So I don't know, man. You know me. I'm always more excited for a second week, and that kind of money that the second week makes, because I think, to me, that says more about what the public thinks about a movie. Star Wars is an excellent example of that, because, I mean, that movie still made really good money well into its almost third week.
Yeah, that's a good point. It like that just kept making money. Or case in point, the Lego Movie had incredible legs. It never really had a dominating opening weekend, but it had really, really strong legs. So I'll be curious if The Nun has those legs. All the Conjuring movies have had some legs, but they've also had very good placement. I was listening to some interesting podcasts and saying, well, with the success of this and an It the year prior, do you think we'll see more horror movies in September instead of October? And I thought that was a really interesting argument. I think I'll be even more curious to see how Halloween does at the box office. That's really in a prime position coming out October 19th for a really good Halloween-ish box office. So I'll be curious the future of horror release dates, if we can get out of that black hole that is January. And I don't know. I think these numbers are really interesting. This whole universe has been really good for the horror genre, I think. They can be hit or miss at times with like Annabelle and then The Nun, but they seem to be really connecting with audiences, which is great. It's revitalizing horror, which I'm always on board for. Yeah, these numbers are really good. If you're Blumhouse, you got to be happy about this. Blumhouse knows what they're doing, clearly. Maybe Warner Brothers should just hand over DC to Blumhouse. They seem to have some form of organization.
Yeah. I think the other thing that would be interesting, and I do think that if this does well, then maybe, they'll release more really good horror movies outside of October. I think if you're a genre that's trying to get out of its niches and its cliches, and you only release your top movies in October, you're not really making a lot of progress there.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see going forward. So, making a hard U-turn, we're transitioning away from horror to Disney, because that's always a good topic to discuss. So, on the horizon, we are getting a live-action Mulan film, as well as a whole bunch of other live-action ones. But the Mulan one I've been kind of keeping a steady eye on, because that's one of the few live-action adaptations that I'm actually excited and curious to see. Well, I thought we were going to get more of a gritty, realistic Mulan, and we might still get that. However, there's some words coming out that we're actually going to get some of the original songs from Mulan, as well as Mushu. Now, this is definitely not the direction I was thinking that they were going to go with. That being said, the songs from Mulan are pretty classic, and they're always welcome in my book.
I don't know, man. Like, I go back and forth on whether or not the new Mulan movie needs songs, because the Mulan music is some of my favorite of all Disney movies. But at the same time, I'm really excited about this gritty remake that we might be getting. I think there's a way to include Mushu as a spirit animal, kind of a comic relief.
Force Ghost.
Force Ghost. Space Force. Anyway, I don't know why I went with that, but
It's
anyway.
a nice jingle.
It is. Space Force. Mushu, I think, is a good push. He's one of the characters in the original that really pushes the story forward. He's there for the comic relief. He's there for the moments where Mulan's like, man, I don't really know what if I can do this. Because he's the character that Mulan needs that pushes her. And she, like in the original, when she's like, man, like she gets to camp and she's like, I made a mistake. I can't do this. I definitely can't. Mushu's like, well, here's the thing. If you don't, we're all screwed. So he's the one that really he's behind her. He's the cheerleader to me. And maybe that takes away from Mulan's feminine the strong female lead character. But to me, even the strongest of people need somebody in their corner cheering them on. And it keeps that
you,
still.
Josh.
Yeah, I know you do. Thanks, man. Somebody needs to. But you can still keep it in that mystic realm of old China and have that spirit animal. I don't know. It could work. And I think you and I even discussed how they could do the music without actually doing the music.
Yeah,
you don't have to make it a musical.
We suggested that they more or less keep the music but drop the lyrics in terms of so just have it more as an instrumental, because we talked about the training sequence and how they can just do that without the words, and I'll make a man out of you, and just show more or less the exact same training montage, just has a super inspirational, almost like Rocky or Warrior vibe to it, and that'd be totally all right with me, especially when she's climbing the pole with the gold rings. That could be amazing with that soundtrack, just as an instrumental version with a big orchestra or something. That'd be amazing.
Oh, dude. And even the moment that tugs at your heartstrings towards the beginning, the reflection, just have that music swell. You don't need lyrics, just have that tune swell right then as she's looking in the lake and she just wipes off some of the makeup. Oh man,
the visuals alone of that song can tell the story. That's all we need. We can tell the story from that. They could do a really interesting job with that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we've seen this movie. We know it's the story. Do something different with it. Not necessarily too different, but make a show, just present it in kind of a fresh way.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I'm still really excited for this, regardless of what happens with music, without, whatever they do. I have faith in them. I think I debate if I'm more excited for this or the Lion King movie. Either way, I'm excited for both of them. So last topic before we get into our main discussion with Superman and the future of the DCEU. Also over the weekend, Sony released their Spider-Man game, Marvel's Spider-Man. I don't know what the official game title is called. It's just Spider-Man. I've been playing it a lot, and I just want to give some brief thoughts on it because it kind of fits in the whole video game, movie market that we talk about here. I have a lot of fun with the game. My only real nitpicks are I played a lot of the Arkham games, and this takes a lot of the same mechanics and playstyle as the Arkham games. Just the buttons are different. So the reverse button or the counter button for Arkham is not the same as Spider-Man. So I get punched way more than I should. Yeah. And it's just kind of unlearning the things that I've learned. However, there's some things that I thought that I would hate, but I actually don't. So they changed some things in the Spider-Man lore for the game, but I don't necessarily hate it. Not to dip too much into spoilers, but certain characters have different roles. J. Jonah Jameson is scattered throughout the game, but he's not in charge of the Daily Bugle. He's almost like this Rush Limbaugh
Yeah,
style
I haven't
podcaster.
gotten to play it yet, but for financial reasons. But I had the as far as the button scheme issue, I had the same problem. Going from the old God of War games to the most recent one. Because the controllers are very similar, but there's a few changes, and the timing is completely of certain things is completely different. So I get that. Everything that I've seen from the game looks incredible. It looks like a lot of fun.
It's pure Spider-Man. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Johnny Gargano's Instagram.
Yep.
I think it was yesterday, where he was like, "All right, see, I'm gonna go be a zombie for 30-something hours."
No, it was 237.
Oh, jeez, bro. No, like, you have work to do, man. You can't do that.
Oh no, he doesn't. He's not getting that title until WrestleMania weekend. Mark my words. All those people that don't follow wrestling that listen to the show are just going, "What?" Like I was saying, there's certain things that I thought as a diehard Spider-Man fan, like I think I know quite a bit about Spider-Man. So there's some changes to the lore about this that I thought would bother me a lot more, but they're changes that to me actually really work. So J. Jonah Jameson is not in charge of the Daily Bugle. He's like a Rush Limbaugh style podcaster that's just like trying to rile up hate with people in New York, but like no one takes the bait. To me, that actually felt like a really nice update to the character of like,
yeah,
newspapers aren't really as relevant anymore, but angry podcasters are.
Was that a throat clear to signal that you're an angry podcaster?
Yeah, that could have been an alternate name, angry podcasters.
We just talk about things that piss us off. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of changes that I thought I would not enjoy. Also, when the game was announced that it was going to have Miles Morales in it, I definitely rolled my eyes because I, as a comic book fan, have never really been the biggest fan of Miles Morales. However, this game has actually turned me around a little bit. They present him very well. They present MJ in one of her best versions I've ever seen. Makes you completely forget about Kirsten Dunst and makes you, like, really get behind Peter and MJ's relationship. They work incredibly well together. She's an independent character of her own. She doesn't need Spider-Man, but her and Spider-Man are a great team together. I just like her dynamic. The graphics and gameplay are amazing. I could just swing around New York all day. That's all I need. That's just so much fun. Just collecting little collectibles, swinging. I figured out how to do tricks while you're in the air, and that's all I need in life, man. Just need to swing, jump off buildings, and have no fall damage.
Well, I mean, really, when you get a Spider-Man game, like, what else do you actually want to do? It's kind of like whenever the Arkham games first came out. It's like, well, all I want to do is go from building to building and just drop on people.
Yep, it's the best thing. And then you're like, oh, I need a car. And then you got the car. This one is you get all the different suits, and it's so fun to play as the different skins.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know as much as I would like to about the game because I haven't gotten to play it, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if this is a thing right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did some kind of multiplayer with it, where it's like multi-dimension, and so you can bring in, have 4 Spideys to one mission or something like that. I don't know. I've just been like thinking because the alternate universe Spider-Man's has been like such a storyline in every, incarnation of the story. So like what was it? The Spider-Man show that had Drake.
Oh, for the record, people, he means Drake Bell, not the actual performer.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I think it was just Ultimate Spider-Man.
Have him as the voice. Yeah, they transitioned into that multi-universe Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, they did it really well.
Fairly quickly. What's up?
They did it really, really well. I really enjoyed that Spider-Man quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Drake Bell as Spider-Man is an easy pick. But
Inspired casting. Great voice actor
yeah,
for that.
very. And really, the show in general is very well done. The animation style is very clean, very fluid, and they treat every single character very well. But even like other mediums, like there's a Temple Run style game for like mobile game, that for Spider-Man, that literally the whole game is the multi-dimension theory. Like you have to go from dimension to dimension, taking down all of the multitudes of Sinister Six. Wow. So, like, yeah, it's awesome. But anyway, all that to say, I don't think it would be very hard for them to kind of do that with this game.
I know they're working on a patch to add in New Game Plus mode eventually, which I think will be a lot of fun. But yeah, I could see a multiplayer option. Speaking of multi-dimensions and whatnot, this game, I mean, does, however, get me more excited for the Spider-Man, I was about to say Across the Universe, but that's another movie, Across the Multiverse movie that's coming around Christmas time, starring an animated version of Miles Morales. I wasn't too excited for it, but having played this, I would like a little bit more Miles. If he's anything like this game, I could really get behind this. And the multiverse movie has really won me over with some of the animation. I'm really curious to see what they do. I know there's going to be quite a bit of fun characters that I don't know how much you know, so I'll leave them as surprises if you don't.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for
keep that's those spoilers away from me.
Yeah, just some like casting and some characters that I've heard. I'm like, I never thought we'd get these in a movie, and I'm super excited about it.
I mean, I've always said, man, honestly, like, if you do a Spider-Man movie, you don't gotta jump straight to Goblin. Like, he's got a lot of really good villains. Like, you don't have to jump straight to him. But whatever.
Well, let's transition away from Marvel and Spider-Man to far less depressing things with Superman and Henry Cavill. This will be our main discussion topic for the day. Before we get into that, this episode is sponsored by, I don't know, Josh, who do you want this episode to be sponsored by today?
This episode is going to be sponsored by McAllister's Deli, because sandwiches.
Wonderful. Thank you for that sponsorship today, Josh. Yeah, we're very professional in our sponsorships here. Well, when I saw the news that Henry Cavill more or less might be leaving the Superman role, this actually made me even more disappointed than the Ben Affleck one. The Ben Affleck one has just been this long, drawn-out process of, will he, won't he, is he coming back, he's staying, he's leaving. This Superman thing just came out of nowhere, more like an RKO, and it just was like, I thought this guy was tied down for life. He said numerous times that he wants to be Superman for life, and he tries to be Superman on screen and off to people, which I've always respected that about him, because he understands the significance of the character of, once you are Superman, people look at you as Superman for the rest of your career, and he takes that very seriously. I feel more seriously than basically Warner Brothers does at this point.
Yeah. Well, and this news, I think, is even more crushing because of Justice League. Because at the end, towards that end of Justice League, when stuff starts happening, that's Superman. Like, that is the live action Superman.
Yep.
Like, I'm behind him. I believe him. He's just that's the Superman that we read in comics and see in the animated movies. Like, that's him right there. Boom. And then all of a sudden, you're just going to drop him?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's cheesy. He's sappy. He's got the big old goofy grin on his face. But that's Superman. The point that I was just like, yes, this is the Superman I know and love, is, one, when he comes back and he says, truth, I'm a big fan of truth, but I'm also a fan of justice. But more importantly, when he rescues the big building, he comes back and he's like, this guy's still bothering you? That cheesy, dad-ish one-liner. That is Superman. The guy that's just happy to help. And because he can.
He's just there.
Right. colorful, happy. It was like we're finally getting Superman back on track, only to discover Warner Brothers has no plans whatsoever for Superman. I was livid when I heard this news. It's like you finally got the character that can make you a lot of money back on track. Because Batman, it's been proven, even at his worst, he's still financially bankable. You finally have Superman back in a good place. You finally got him to a Superman level again. Yes, Justice League did not get the financial backing that they wanted. It did not reap the same financial rewards. But this dude, more than any of your other actors, has stated that he wants to stay a Superman. The dude suffered all these horrible memes, rightly so. It wasn't all his fault with the whole mustache gate. He still was Superman through all that, and he wants to be this character so bad, and I don't get why they don't have any plans for it. It's like you have this open door. Just go through it.
I honestly, so the DCU and, the DC cinema has gone through a lot of changes in the past few months. I just wonder if it's not necessarily they don't have anything for him. I wonder if DC as a company is not actually being as allowed to be involved as they should be. So, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm being clear on that, but
I think I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like George Lucas's role with Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
They
I don't think it's that bad, but I
don't think so either. But Warner Bros. Has these characters, and they're like, well, they're tied to this company, so we should take some advice every now and then.
It's just,
but
it's baffling.
I don't know, man.
That DC, for all the issues that it's getting, has had time after time after time to get their stuff together, to learn from their mistakes, and start pulling it together. But it seems like consistently every time they have multiple options that can help them and figure things out, and they keep choosing the wrong options. To me, after Justice League, they had two options. Start over, completely reboot your series, or keep going with what was going on and eventually iron out the details and start getting on the path that you set. Either go, okay, we had a bit of a rough start, but we're going to keep chugging along and eventually we'll find our way, or just start over. Either one of those are very solid options. They're doing neither of those, it seems. It seems like they're like, okay, we're going to keep about half the people, we're going to Thanos our cast, and we're going to pick and choose who we want, and that's going to be that. And now there's rumors, which I actually don't put very much stock into these rumors, but there's rumors that Warner Bros. Wants Michael B. Jordan, who is known for Creed, Fantastic, most recently being Killmonger and Black Panther. They want him to be Superman, to which I'm like, okay, that doesn't, I don't buy this rumor, because it sounds like there's no plans for Superman. So if there's no plans for Superman, why are you already thinking about recasting him? Like, you have an actor that clearly wants to be Superman. So is it an issue of you don't want Henry Cavill anymore? Or is it an issue of you don't have a role for Superman? If that's the case, then why are you trying to recast this role if you have no plans? It doesn't matter who's playing it if you're not going to have them in a movie.
Well, and okay, so I'm trying to make sense of this, obviously, right? Because I think we all are. But a situation I could see needing Michael B. Jordan for a Superman would be if you did an angle you've already done, which is Superman's not around, and that hole needs to be filled. So you have Michael B. Jordan as Steel come in as Superman, which has been done before, and Michael B. Jordan has the acting chops to pull that kind of character off. it could work, but it doesn't make sense. Why would you go that direction? Because you've already told that story. So why tell the story again with other people? Oh my gosh. Now I'm getting upset. Okay. Anyway.
Because I highly doubt it'll be Steel because DC learned their lesson the hard way with Shaq all those years ago when they made a Steel movie.
That's Shaq. But that's Shaq. And this is Michael B. Jordan, bro. Like, I don't know.
Michael B. Jordan is a phenomenal actor, one of the best today. I don't care who's in the role. If he's Steel, people are going to compare him to Iron Man, fairly or unfairly, which I don't think DC wants any more comparisons to Marvel at this point. I don't think it'll be Steel, which thank God for that. But I just don't know. These Michael B. Jordan rumors, thankfully, I can't seem to find much of a basis for them. But those are just odd. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'd be more opposed to his casting because we already have a Superman that wants the role. So why would you kick out a perfectly good actor that has been proven to work as Superman, has done it for 3 movies already, seemed to be on the right track to getting a Superman? Right as you get momentum, you halt it. So, I don't know if I really believe these Michael B. Jordan rumors.
Yeah.
But I just
the
don't
one
know where
that
they're
I
going.
could see, though, is I could see him coming in as Guardian.
Yeah, that'd be a great role for him.
Or, man, even like a young, if you want to age him back a little bit, do a Martian Manhunter, but have him as like be like a younger cop as opposed to an older cop.
Oh, you are speaking my language with Martian Manhunter. He, to me, is like my most underappreciated Justice Leaguer. I love me some Martian Manhunter.
But, I mean, I would not be opposed to using Michael B. Jordan in the DCU.
Oh, no.
But, I agree. I don't know why. Why would you recast Superman? It doesn't make sense. I think at this point, I'm just trying to... I feel like the story as a DCU fan is always trying to make sense of stuff and try to put a positive spin on things.
Literally, like, WCW's booking made more sense than this.
And even that's a little... man, there goes another wrestling reference. All right.
Okay, so not to compare it to Marvel, but I was listening to a great video on YouTube earlier today, and I completely agree. Of Marvel, for better or for worse, you like their movies or you don't like them, you always know what the bigger picture and the bigger plan is. Right down to Iron Man 1 at the end. I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Okay, they're trying to make an Avengers movie. Awesome. After Avengers ended, to challenge them would be to court death, Thanos setup. Awesome. You know, eventually down the road they're going to fight Thanos. Going out on a limb here, as I've been saying for many years, at the end of Avengers 4, we're going to have Silver Surfer heralding the arrival of Galactus, setting that up down the road for that. That's my prediction for Avengers 4. DC, what is the direction? What is the big picture? Yeah. What is this? I know Zack Snyder apparently had something, but after Batman v Superman and just his previous works, I don't know if I trusted it because supposedly he had this big, 5-movie arc for all the characters, and I don't think one person should have that much control. And DC needs a big picture. They need some form of a narrative structure to go off of. Like Marvel does the homework. They know, here's point A, we want to get to point D. What are point C and part B to get us in between those points to get us to our destination?
Yeah. Well, okay, but to your point, I think Darkseid was the end goal. But at the same time, how are you going to make Lex the creator of Doomsday if your end goal is Darkseid? Because you could have easily had like Darkseid send Doomsday in Batman v Superman. You can set that up, no problem. And Lex be like, what's going on? This wasn't me. I didn't do this. And
weird thing
at least because then...
is Zack Snyder has actually come out and said that the Doomsday in Batman v Superman, believe it or not, is not the real Doomsday. He's like, no, that
No
was not the real
way.
Doomsday. The real Doomsday is still somewhere out there in space. I'm like, then why did you call him Doomsday and have him kill Superman if he wasn't the real Doomsday? There's a
Yes.
great solution that I've heard, and I 100% agree with it. The easiest way to fix the Doomsday issue at the end of Batman v Superman is you still have Lex clone Superman and everything else, but he becomes Bizarro, not
Yeah,
Doomsday. It's still
that
the same
makes more
process of he's
sense.
an offshoot of a DNA of Superman, but he's more or less people don't trust Superman already. So if Bizarro starts wrecking stuff, people automatically assume it's Superman, causing this even bigger rift between Superman and the people that he's trying to save and win the trust of.
Well, yeah,
It's
and
just right
it
there.
makes more sense for Batman to not trust him if there's someone else out there doing stuff to cause him to not trust him.
But again,
I,
this comes back down to it doesn't ever seem like any of the DC movies have a big picture. Like Zack Snyder seemed like he was making the movies that he wanted to make, but it didn't seem like he ever had a certain direction that he was trying to reach with the characters, a certain direction that he was trying to go.
yeah, and I'm with you. But to kind of counteract that a little bit, in if you watch the animated movies,
Oh, those are okay. Even those aren't as good as they used to
yeah,
be.
no, I mean no, but even then, they don't have a bigger picture. They tell one story and they're done.
And unfortunately, they're getting to be pretty hit or miss too.
Well, I don't know, man. I've enjoyed quite a few of them, and the most recent ones. I mean, really, the only one I
animation style. I've never liked the New 52 style for these animated films, and I've wanted them to get away from it because it's very outdated at this point. But
fair.
They're not. Yeah, they're not as tall as they used to be. Some of them can still blow me away. The ones that are really surprising me are the Lego ones, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah, you bring up a good point of the animated universe is cohesive. It still feels like a universe, even if the stories aren't connected. You don't have to have a Marvel formula of 5 to 6 movies, then big massive team up, 5 to 6 movies, then another big massive team up. You can have just individual character stories, but still make them feel connected. This something about DC, they feel disconnected in a way, and it doesn't feel like they exist together. It doesn't feel like there's some overriding story that's tying everything together. And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Maybe that's just because the DC doesn't have anything that's like the Shield, because what they have is the Justice League, and that has our main characters in it. Whereas the Shield in the Marvel universe can act as a guide for the story.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, like they more or less put everybody into action.
Yeah, it's you got to have something outside of your main characters that moves them into action. It's not like, I don't know, man. There's just a lot wrong with the DC universe. There's a lot. I'll give Zach this. He gave us a lot of some really cool moments. He gave us more really weird ones, but regardless, he gave us some good moments. But I don't know. Like you said, you either stop and wait and maybe restart in a couple of years. Because if you restart now, it's going to be kind of weird. But if you wait, the comic book boom might be over. I don't know. You might have screwed your pooch. Like, you just can't. There's not a lot you can do now.
And I think the reason we get so worked up about this, at least in particular for me, is I know the source material. I know they can't just say, well, we're having a hard time adapting this to a screen. Well, clearly something's resonating. If these characters have been around for 90 freaking years and nothing is working for you guys. There's been successful versions in the past. There's just things that I would love to see in a movie that would be fantastic that I think could work, but they're not putting in the effort. They're just trying to make the money. Marvel was
Yeah.
patient. They took their time. They figured out what worked. DC
Yeah.
needs to do that. There's like this long checklist of things that I would love to see in a live action film that revolve around the world of DC, but I fear we may never get. Nightwing.
Yeah.
Love to see that. Never will happen at this point because I just
Honestly?
don't have that much faith in it. I would love to see
Oh, I
a
agree.
live action version of The Watchtower or The Hall of Justice or a Flash movie,
Or
Flashpoint.
even a Lantern Corps. Like
Yes.
an actual Lantern Corps. And
Yeah.
not have it be okay and expand it to the other colors. Have like a 2 or 3 movie build to a 4th movie that is as black as night.
Oh, Blackest Night would be
'Cause
very difficult to do because a lot of the League and the core members of that movie were dead, and I don't think DC would ever kill off that many people to
I
bring them
agree.
back.
Like I said, that's why you can only do some of their best stories. You can only do if you build up to it with like maybe 1 or 2 movies before it. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe they can't tell these long stories over 4 or 5 movies because each of these like scenarios, like Blackest Night, are so specific in the details of what has to happen in order for these events to happen for this story. Because I mean, even like Flashpoint and Paradox, there's very specific things that have to happen in order for Reverse Flash to make the decision to restart time, basically.
Mm-hmm. I think honestly, I jokingly talked about this earlier in the podcast, but the more I dwell on it, the more I think about it, DC would actually be smart not to adopt Marvel's formula because that's what they've been trying to do and they've been falling flat on their face. What they need to do is try something different and try Blumhouse's model. What you need to do is make more smaller, intimate, personal superhero stories, and that honestly, that seems to be what they're doing with Shazam. That looks like a single hero doing a single story, and that looks great. Do like a standalone Nightwing film or a standalone Red Hood film that feels like just picture a Red Hood film that feels like Dread in terms of claustrophobic, one character on a single mission, hyper violent. It would fit for the character. I know we're getting a Joker standalone movie, which honestly at this point, maybe just what it needs because it's supposed to be a small budget film. So it can be R-rated and still have a small budget. Superhero movies don't have to have this big, expensive budget. You could still tell pretty personal stories and just be intimate and only have a smaller cast, a more tight and focused story. It doesn't have to be the end of the world every single time. It can be something like Spider-Man Homecoming where it's, I'm going to stop this robber and this plane that has a whole bunch of stuff on it.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm kind of excited for, what is it, New Mutants, I think it's called? Where it's like all these...
Canceled.
If it doesn't get canceled, yes, I know. But it's something different. It's something so different from every superhero thing we've gotten. It's a superhero horror movie. Let's do that. Let's explore what these powers do to your psyche. Let's explore these other avenues of story other than there's a big baddie and we got to take him down. So, and to me, that's why Logan did so well.
Yeah.
It's because we see this guy who has been through so much, who can barely use his powers anymore. It's just, these stories need to be about people that happen to have powers, not about people with powers.
Yeah. So, we talk wrestling all the time, so I'm going to go with the wrestling analogy for this. Big shocker. But a reason why Josh and myself aren't a huge fan of the current WWE product, follow us here for a second, is that the writing often feels like they change the story and the narrative every other week. Like something will happen to some wrestlers or some characters one week, and it will be completely contradicted the next. It seems like they don't think out the story months in advance. They think 1 week at a time, which if you're telling a weekly episodic show doesn't work. You don't see that crap on like NCIS or any
Yeah.
of these other shows that have an overall arc, which is essentially what wrestling should be. And DC right now is the exact same way. They are thinking, okay, 1 week at a time, not this is where we're at right now. This is where we would like to be. How do we get to that point in between? What steps do we need to take to better ourselves, to better our stories, to better our characters, to ultimately get the returns that we would like to see for movies?
Yes. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you put out good product, people will buy. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not, I've never been quiet about how I'm not satisfied with the product that Marvel puts out. But that's just because I think you can do so much more with these stories. I think you can take it to another level that makes it more emotionally impactful and not like a cheap money cash grab. But at the same time, they're still putting out an enjoyable product. And I'm still going to go and see these movies in the theater. So, I mean, I don't think I even saw Batman v Superman in the theater.
I did. Opening night.
I didn't want to see it with a crowd. I wanted to see it on my own. I wanted to have my own opinions about it. I didn't want to let a crowd dictate my emotions on this movie.
And
so, I mean,
you and I differ. And that's a topic that we had originally scheduled for this podcast until this news broke and we're like, okay, we got to call an audible, was watching a theater in person, watching a movie in person, the communal aspects of it.
Yeah.
Whereas I actually have the inverse thinking on that of I wanted to see Batman v Superman in person because I had fond memories before that with Man of Steel of all these DC fans, not really coming out of the woodwork, but all these DC fans getting excited about a movie finally. I saw it at a midnight showing in California with my dad. That's still some of the fondest memories I've ever had for any movie that I can think of off the top of my head besides Star Wars, was going at midnight, getting super excited to see a Superman movie. And it was a great time seeing all these people in Superman shirts and just having a great time. And I was hoping to see that again for Batman v Superman. And it didn't necessarily happen. So, I think this horse is beaten to death enough. However, I want to shift focus for this closing segment away from the DC aspect of this to the Henry Cavill aspect of this. I really enjoy his work as an actor. I loved him in Mission Impossible. He's a great Superman. I just really enjoy him as an actor. He's just seems and comes across as a very pleasant and a great guy. I hope he's still able to find some great work. He's going to be in The Witcher that we talked about last week on the podcast. Where do you see Henry
and maybe
Cavill going?
he's trying to make more time for that kind of stuff. I said maybe he's just trying to make more time for other projects that are going somewhere.
Yeah, he's taken off, and I think he's tired of waiting for Superman projects to come to him, so he's going out and finding projects. So, honestly, for me, I want him to succeed, and I really like him as a person. He seems very genuine. He seems just like a really cool guy. However, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat and break out my conspiracy theory. You know, there is another major franchise that's going to be looking for a lead very soon that he was originally rejected for, that the position may be open again, that I can totally see him jumping on. And that's James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
He was originally in the running for James Bond that first time with Casino Royale, but he ultimately lost out to Daniel Craig. Now the position may be open again, and as you discovered last week on the podcast, he is in fact British, so that does qualify him to play as James Bond. And I would love to see
Yes.
him as Bond, honestly.
Yes. Honestly, for the next Bond, okay, first of all, spy movies are a dead art. So if you're gonna make
Unless it's
another
Mission
one,
Impossible.
yes, it's got to be good. And so if you need a good lead, not to say that Daniel's not good, but I mean,
He's getting bored with it.
yeah, he's bored with it, and I understand because a lot of us are. Because every Bond movie is the same.
Hey,
So
I
it's
love Skyfall.
I know, but every Bond movie is the same. So do something. They're gonna have to make it fresh. So honestly, my top two picks are Henry Cavill and Idris Elba. I would love to see Idris do more.
The only thing that
I don't
I'd say that makes me think it's not going to be Idris is he doesn't seem to be all that on board for it. And two, I think his age may be an issue. He's kind of up there. And if you're starting a franchise with someone, you don't want them to be. I think he's like in his mid 40s, maybe. That's kind of a late age to start an action heavy franchise. Like, yes, Robert Downey Jr. started Iron Man when he's up in years, but that
but
wasn't
he
as
doesn't
physically demanding as James Bond would be.
Yeah. Well, and while I agree, Daniel Craig is kind of up there too, though.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the most recent one, they kind of maybe not the most recent one. I think it was Skyfall. They kind of said like he's in his 50s.
Yeah,
So
something like that. Yeah, they made a point to make sure that you knew he was old for that.
Exactly. So I mean, you could. I mean, you maybe not be able to pull it off by having Idris Elba play him, but you could almost tell a old man Logan story with James Bond.
You wouldn't get very many films out of it, though.
No, I mean, yeah,
everything's franchise related now.
I mean, I agree, but you know me, I'm gonna prefer a good movie over a franchise.
True, which is why we're not in charge of movie studios.
Yeah, exactly. You give me a great story, and you'll put my butt in the seat.
Yeah, like I don't think, thankfully, that Henry Cavill is gonna fall victim to the Superman curse like so many of his predecessors. Thankfully, the guy's got a ton of talent. I think DC. If this again, this is all speculation at this point. Henry Cavill hasn't come out and officially said yes or no. DC has not officially come out and said yes or no. Warner Brothers, nobody has officially said yes or no. This is just some heavy speculation that's going on around right now. But if it's true, this is more bad news for DC. And even as a loyalist, this is hard news to hear. And it seemed like Henry Cavill was the soul of the DC universe. He started it. He seemed to be the face of hope, quite literally, for Justice League as it started to turn around and represent more of the characters that we know and love. Now, if he's no longer staying, does the hope of the franchise go with him? And yeah, going forward, I just don't know. So it's kind of up in the air. But yeah, Josh, any last minute thoughts before we drive this sucker home?
He's got enough talent. Henry will be able to do really anything at this point. So
yeah, I really hope he does even better now, more just to kind of stick it to DC and Warner Brothers. But we'll see going forward what the news will be, and who knows? By the time this episode comes out, this news could be way outdated. Thus is the nature of the internet. Yeah. But whatever, it was fun to talk about this and break down our thoughts about this, and just kind of break down the DC universe and the whole Superman quote-unquote fiasco. Well, what do you guys think about this? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole Henry Cavill leaving as Superman or any of the other movie topics that we talked about today. So feel free to comment below. And as always, if you'd like to see and want to see more, subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube channel, however you're getting this audio to you through your ear holes today. Feel free to subscribe to that channel. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoy the content that you hear here. It's a weird sentence to say, but I'm sticking with it. And we'll see you again real soon. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.